So hi everyone, welcome to today's Health Hour Health Coaching with Beck. My name is Anne Tedlam. I'm a Community Experience Coordinator here at Diabetes Australia. This fortnight's topic is how to get back on track in 2026. So it's great to see you all here today, some new names and faces, which is fantastic. For those of you who don't know Beck and might be joining us for the first time, she's our resident accredited practicing dietitian and health coach with over 20 years experience working with people living with diabetes. For those of you who haven't, you are welcome to turn on your camera or video if you would like. Love to see you and interact, but it is not compulsory. So as our health coaching sessions are gaining popularity and we have a few more participants in this session, please leave yourself on mute and refrain from speaking over Beck and other participants. But if you do have a question or would like to answer a question that Beck has asked, we do like to keep these interactive. Please use the raise hand function and either myself or Beck will come to you and you can then take yourself off mute. You'll find the raise hand function at the top of your screen where there is a little hand icon. To give everyone a chance to speak and or ask a question, please stick to one question at a time and be mindful of the time you're taking as we only have the hour and we need to make the sessions as interactive and fair and informative for all. We also have the option to put any questions in the Q&A area or chat function, whichever you have access to. I'll keep an eye on both of those, so feel free to pop any questions or remarks in either the Q&A or chat areas. For any questions that we haven't been able to answer in this session, we will take note of those questions and post the answers in Diabetes Connect. For any follow-up information that Beck has, info sheets, suggested recipes, any ideas, tips and tricks, they will also be posted in Diabetes Connect under today's topic in the Diabetes United General Forum. And I'll just now read a disclaimer and then our acknowledgement of country and we'll get underway. So whilst Beck is an accredited practicing dietitian and health coach, she's not a medical expert, GP. We suggest you speak to your GP in relation to medical questions. Beck is unable to offer personal medical advice or consultations. If it is a question that could be answered by a diabetes educator, please post in Diabetes Connect and we can get an answer for you. Finally, today's webinar will be recorded and will be available on Diabetes Connect in the coming days. Diabetes Australia acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional owners and custodians of this country. We pay the utmost respect to them, their cultures, and to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. Diabetes Australia is committed to improving health outcomes of all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people affected by diabetes and those at risk. So with that, I will hand over to Beck and thank you everybody for joining us today.
Hello everyone and a happy new year to you all. It's so nice to see so many people join. And it was at the last minute, we didn't have many, and then right at the last minute a lot of people signed up, which is great. Now today is about a new year begins and how to get back on track. And of course I've got tips that come from the evidence and also from years of experience with not only members or patients or clients, depending on what job I was in, but also myself. Working with human beings, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be foolproof and easy. And just because a new year begins, it doesn't mean that we start setting goals now. It might be that you use these tips and tricks throughout the year. But it's always a good opportunity in the new year to reflect and think, is there anything that I have to work on? Or am I going okay? Or is the situation not the right time? And that's one thing to remember, that we know that in our life, sometimes we may have a lot of health goals in our head, but there may be personal situations that become more of a priority. So one of the things I did say at last webinar was to prioritize ruthlessly. I don't know about you, but often I get messy head syndrome and there's so much you have to change and work on. One of the most important things to do when working on how to get back on track is to prioritize ruthlessly and think, what are the non-negotiables? What are the most important things that I need to do right now for you yourself? Before I start, I wanted to ask you all, do you have any questions or tips about getting on track, or are you already on track and you want to share with some of your some of your achievements, or are there some things that you are having difficulty with? I'm going to hand it over to you guys, and please, you don't have to reveal anything. You can always ask questions on the forum. I do have something to share, but I always like to start off with how you are all going, whether it's questions or comments. Monica, welcome. You take yourself off mute. Can you take yourself off mute, Monica? Yeah. I'm not a good lip reader.
That's better. Hi, everyone. How you going? The reason I've joined today is the last 12 months I've had 2 bouts of pneumonia, and my immune system apparently is just really bad. So I'm sort of trying to get some advice to get this year started so that I can avoid that. You know, what do I have to do? They say diabetes is the reason my immune system's low, but, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to go on all these probiotic foods and things, and kincha and kimchi, whatever they are, all these things. But yeah, just wanting to get some advice as a diabetic, how we improve our immunity, and whether anyone else has faced this issue, because it's, you know, bad enough having 1 bout of it, then I got another bout. So I'm just getting a bit concerned.
Yeah, look, that's a really good question, and you're not alone. I'm going to pass it over to other people. I know a few people on today, with particularly one person who's had a few bouts of viruses and horrible things, and myself included. I touch wood, never get sick, and last year, because of stress, I was a more immunosuppressed. And so with diabetes, it doesn't mean that if you've got diabetes you're going to get sick, right? But if your diabetes is not as well controlled, it can make you more likely to be susceptible to infections and all sorts of viruses and everything. And it's not impossible to be healthy just because you've got diabetes. But yeah, last year I had 2 viruses, respiratory viruses. So did my mum and so did my daughter. And yeah, because of stress and poor sleep, that's where I can pinpoint why I got it. But I can talk to you about all the different things you can do to improve an immune system. But I'd like to hear from other people. Have you experienced what Monica's experienced, and what are some of the things that you've done, or are you also finding it challenging? I'm going to wait a few seconds. Okay. Deb. Hello.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, a bit like you, Beck. I think I had yours plus, you know, GST last year. So I had 3 bouts of really bad virus, and just, you know, it seemed like I'd just get over one lot and it had hit me again. For me, because I'm living with type 1 diabetes, it kind of, there's the immediate response. I've got to keep my blood glucose levels within a reasonable range. So that's kind of a, you know, hour by hour thing. But as far as sort of getting through the acute stage, you know, just isolating where possible, and eating as well as I could, and just fluids. For me, fluids are vital. So keeping your water up is really important. And then, you know, after the acute stage, just I think Monica mentioned probiotics and probiotic food, and, you know, kombucha, kimchi, all of those sort of things, kefir. I personally find that helps me. Yeah, so that would be my suggestions.
They're great. Thanks, Deb. And I was thinking of, I didn't want to mention names, but poor Deb, every time we come into a webinar, it was either her sick or, yeah, it was just, and you know, the thing is, one thing to think about is you can't always avoid this, but if you can try to work as hard as possible with maintaining a healthy eating plan, eating as much as you can, and hydration, like Deb said, so important. And that's one thing that I failed on, was hydration, which made it worse. Then you're more likely to get over it quicker. But I'm going to mention a couple of things that could help with boosting your immune system. Now, this is from a lifestyle point of view. So like Ange said, I'm not a medical practitioner, so I'm not going to go in the ins and outs of the biochemistry and things like that. It sounds like someone's doing vacuuming or something. I like multitasking. I can hear like a...
That's like a washing machine or something.
Yeah, if everyone can keep themselves on mute for the moment, thank you. I don't mean to say be quiet. It's just I'll say my bit and then come off. And if you're on mute now, you can keep doing your vacuuming or your washing. I love multitasking. I do digress. But from a lifestyle point of view, and one thing I'll send you, Monica, I'll put on the forum. We talked a couple of webinars back about gut health, and I had a little chat about the different types of the benefits of going on probiotics and other ways of achieving gut health. So different types of foods, as Deb has mentioned. So I've written that down to add. But when you look at the main factors to improve immunity, or even just to keep well, first of all, it's managing blood sugars. Okay, so if our blood sugars are not so well controlled prior to getting an infection, that's a real priority. Okay, but there's many factors that impact on that. So it might be you have to work on your diet, so eating well to improve blood sugar levels. The other thing is medications. So maybe I've spoken to many members who I've referred back to their GP because their medications or their insulin are not working at the moment. So does your medication need a bit of a change in order to improve the blood glucose levels? Okay. And, you know, the thing is, not everyone just has diabetes. You know, you might have some other chronic disease or some other autoimmune disease other than type 1, for example, right? So medical conditions, so it's medications, medical conditions, what we eat, sleep, stress. So I said last year, stress, I had personal stress, which impacted my sleep. I was not sleeping properly, yet I was still doing my workload and looking after my daughter. So, you know, it was flogging a dead horse, basically. What's the point in popping, you know, probiotics and everything if I'm not working on the cause? So I had to really work on that. And also I've started a probiotic again. The other thing is movement. If you're not well, there's no point going out and exercising. So if you're in that acute stage, like Deb was saying, you hydrate, you take your antibiotics. Maybe you have to go back and see the GP. I had to go back and get on antibiotics because it wasn't getting any better. So acute stage, hydration, monitor those sugars, keep in contact with medical health professionals because you've got diabetes, you're more at risk of hypers and hypos depending on the type of diabetes you have. Hydration, hydration, hydration. And then when you're getting better or you want to prevent it from happening again, then work on small changes consistently. Getting back on track means, okay, if I want to get back into movement, what's something small I can start with? Or is that not a priority? Is it the sleep that's a priority? And I'm going to show you how to set goals when it sounds all very overwhelming. So I'm going to share mine, happy to share things I have to work on, but mind mapping is a really good way of getting yourself back on track. So hopefully that's a bit of a start, Monica, but I've written gut health, so I'm going to send information about gut health. The next, so number one, Monica, you had a question, then I've got Manuela, and then I've got Stephen.
So Deb was saying things about probiotics helped her. So I went to my GP and she told me just to have the food, not to go and get a supplement. And I just wondered, you mentioned that you were having probiotics yourself. So instead of getting the supplement, I bought the kefir and the kimchi and the sardines and the everything that I could find. So is that what everyone else is? They don't pop these things?
Well, I think you've raised a really important point because there's so much marking out there that tell you to pop a pill rather than have whole food. But in Deb's case, I could guess, and in my case, I was having the gut healthy food, kimchi, everything, and it wasn't enough. And I was on to be honest, 2 courses of antibiotics last year, and so I wanted to add more good bacteria. And I thought that a supplement would be best because I wasn't very well. Now, after that, I'm taking a probiotic now, and then I'll just stop that course and then just sail through the rest of the year on my gut healthy food. So you don't need to take it. So the GP's right, use food as medicine. However, if you've suffered from a lot of stress, you've been taking antibiotics, you haven't been very well, I do suggest taking a probiotic. Now, the research is still a bit, it may benefit some people. It's not a cure. So it's there. And what I usually do is go to the pharmacist and ask them what they would recommend. But again, I've put information about gut health and what to look for as well. So it's there as a secondary option, not always necessary. But if you've been getting quite sick, a course is often worthwhile just to get that balance of that bacteria back in. Because I find diet's not enough for me. If I'm under stress and not eating all the foods I want to eat, then I'll use that. It's the same with vitamins. You don't need a vitamin unless you've got a deficiency or you find you're not getting enough from your diet. So it's supplementing. Yeah, so just be careful of the clever marketing out there. So it's a really good question. Manuela, you're on mute. Manuela. Manuala. I think that's right. Manuala. But you're on mute, and I'd love to hear your voice. So the microphone's up the top right-hand corner.
Doesn't look like they're on mute, but the sound is not coming through. So I'm not sure. It must be an issue on your end.
Maybe their volume's not up.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Manuela, can you look at your volume? Look at your volume and microphone top right-hand corner.
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. Yes, you got it.
Nutrients right now.
There you go.
No, it's still not coming through. I don't
Lost you
think.
again. Manuela, can you type your question? Or, yeah, type your question, and we're going to give information about how to get on Diabetes Connect. So I really want to hear what you have to say or question. If you could type it in either the chat, up the top you've got chat or Q&A.
So this is going to be for your lunch.
Oh, this is really good. Siggy. Hi, Siggy. Siggy is saying that vitamin C supplement and loads of raw garlic when my immune system is low. You're 100% right. You know how you've always heard about chicken soup for the soul, and you know, every nationality, every culture, there's some sort of warming, immune boosting soup. And when you look at what is usually in that soup, it's usually a lot of garlic, chicken, or some sort of protein because of the amino acids there. It helps boost your immune system. So definitely a lot of garlic and vitamin C, a supplement, or you can get that through food as well. So you can see in winter, we have a lot of vitamin C rich fruits, citrus during winter. So nature really tells us that it's quite clever that, you know, we're more prone to colds and flus in winter, and look at the vitamin C rich seasonal produce we have, spinach as well and things like that. So Manuela, if you could type in your question. Stephen.
Yeah, good morning. Oh, sorry, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, yes.
Yes, and
for New South Wales.
Happy New Year. I guess what I'm doing is responding to your question to start off with. You know, what was it that we did, or that my wife and I did, to enhance or to start off our season, 2026. As you may know, Beck, I have sort of said to you in the past what my exercise regime was, and I've adjusted that to be much more friendly. As you guys, some of you guys may know, between us we have five adult children who are quite demanding, or 2.5 of them are quite demanding, which lends to give us 12 grandchildren, which have attitude. So what that was causing both my wife and I, what that was causing was stress. My blood pressure, every time I'd see my doctor, he would say to me, "You've got to go on blood pressure meds." And I'm going, but I don't want that. I'm on enough meds already. What I've found that because we changed our mindset about our stress, changed to accommodate, but mainly we changed our mindset and we learnt to say no. A lot of things changed. My blood pressure now is 128/80. And I went to my doctor 3 weeks ago, and his reading was a similar one, and he was quite taken back, wanting to know what we'd done. My wife was with him, and we said, "This is what we've done." So what I'm suggesting is that if you're having some difficulty and you have a lot of stress in your life, then you need to make a call. And our call was, there are times that we have to say, "No, I'm sorry, we're unavailable. Can't help you."
I love it, Stephen, because from the very first time you tuned in, it was a different story. And you're 100% right. I mean, most of you have heard me say this many, many times, but it's so true. Most of the barriers reside in our head. So what Stephen's saying, it's his interpretation of the situation. He can, and his wife can say no, but there's this compelling urge to say yes. And I'm a yes, yes person, so I understand. But what I like is you've seen the impact. And yes, medication's there for a reason, but what Stephen did was looked at the root cause. So like I said, Monica, initially when I talked about all the different factors that can impact immunity, stress is one of them. So Stephen went straight to the root problem. And yeah, we can't control people, but we can control the way we react to them, which is just a lifelong learning curve for me. But you can change, but it's very stressful because as a parent, grandparent, you feel the urge to say yes. I love that example. I love that example that your blood pressure came down, not just from people think, oh, diet or exercise, it was changing your mindset. That would blow the GP's brain. He'd be saying, what? How?
It did.
You graduated from health coaching with Beck. I'm very proud.
He sat there quietly for like a second or two. Like, this guy just talked continually, but he like went like what do I say? It's
I love it. No, well done. It's just, I love this news. And, you know, if you find, like, please share your stories on this webinar, these webinars, or if you find you can't attend one, send us a message on Connect, Diabetes Connect. Now, let's have a look. Manuela, I had a total knee replacement earlier this year, and my HbA1c was in excellent range until October last year. Then my sugar suddenly went up, yet I have not changed my eating habits. I asked the doctor and he suggested that the knee replacement has caused changes in how my body is affected. Have you heard this before? I'll speak from a non-medical point of view, but that's a really good scenario, Manuela, because, you know, there's so many factors that will increase blood sugars. So your diet hasn't changed. I love that, because sometimes people find their diet changes after they have surgery because it can be a bit depressing. You're not moving as much and it can impact on the rest of your life. So well done for keeping up a good lifestyle. It could be indirectly related. It could be that maybe we're not moving as much. Pain can also affect the blood sugars. So if you're still in pain, my sister just had foot surgery. She doesn't have diabetes, but she had major foot surgery. She had an extra bone in her foot. They had to cut it out and reattach all certain things. I couldn't believe it, like how much she had to have done, and she won't be able to exercise for a good 12 months, right? Why am I telling you this? Well, she got her blood test results and she freaked out and said, my liver function's high. I don't drink. And I said, you can have a high liver function even for not drinking. And because of the stress of the body, pain and stress on the body can increase things like liver function, okay? So the same with you. Perhaps it's the ongoing pain you've got. Maybe you're less active. Maybe it's affected your sleep. Maybe there's more stress on the body. That can all affect blood sugars. Yeah, hopefully that answers it. But that's from a non-medical point of view. I mean, be good to ask your doctor. But that's from the evidence, but also what I've seen in experience. Yeah, things have changed. Yep. Let me just have Philip is typing and have another look at another question. Then I'm going to share my mind map. Steve, you mentioned that we should ensure proper hydration. How much water should I be drinking and how often? Different amounts for different people. I'd say minimum, 8 cups a day. They say minimum 2 litres. However, if you've got chronic renal failure, that may reduce. Maybe you're on, so Siggy's got a mum with chronic kidney disease, so maybe you're on a fluid restriction. Maybe you need more because of your activity. So it'd be something definitely to ask your doctor again. They can actually work out how much you need. For myself, my hydration levels change every day. If I'm active, I drink more. If I'm just at the office all day and not doing exercise, I tend to drink a little bit less. But I always try to aim for the 2 litres, but it always goes up about 1 litre, particularly in the hot weather when I'm exercising or swimming. I've just started doing swimming and I get thirsty. Different things for different people. One way to check if you are hydrated is to look at your urine. So I teach my daughter that as well if she hasn't drunk enough water. So yeah, the concentrated urine means you need to hydrate a bit more, and that will happen when you've got virus. You'll tend to have more concentrated urine, so up the fluid, like Deb said. It's a very good question. I want to share this because when we're talking about getting on track, where do you start? And as I said, to go from messy head, I've got to do all these things in life, for tidy head, starting with writing things down and prioritizing ruthlessly, as I said. Okay, so I'll just share. How do we do that? Screen. Can you see that?
Yep.
Can you see that?
Yes.
It's very messy, but let me walk you through it. This is a mind map. And so I've done this with patients over the years to help figure out what we need to work on. So this is me in the middle. You might write your name. And can you see me with the cursor? This is sleep. That's the first thing I put on there. So I've put the different things for me for 2026 is sleep, swimming, me time, and health checks. It's going to be different for everyone. Last year it was different. I had finance there. I had stress. Okay. And I've ticked those boxes off. So I've started a new year. Do you see what I mean? So these goals don't have to just be health goals, because we know it's the personal issues, like Stephen's saying, I've got to say no to the grandkids and the children. That's impacting on the exercise, the diet, etc. So with sleep, the problem with goal setting is, and getting on track, you don't just write the big outcome goal, sleep. How are you going to achieve it? So you can, excuse my writing, but you can see I've written down all the little tasks that I have to work on to improve sleep. So the first one was magnesium. Because of the stress last year, I needed to go to the doctor and I asked for some magnesium, and that was short term. I'm back into sleeping well, so I ceased that. Reading glasses. I had to get good reading glasses. Why? Well, I lost a pair and I sat in another pair, and I was looking at reading at night time. So I needed to get the reading glasses. Do you see all these little micro steps? That was stopping me from improving sleep. Reduce phone time. So I'm happy to admit, so when my daughter sleeps, we co-sleep at the moment, that was my time to actually connect with friends, because I'm a busy single mum, I work full time. And so I'd be messaging friends, feeling guilty, particularly ones overseas. And obviously that light keeps you up. So I've had to reduce phone time. And what do I replace with it? Because she sleeps early, non-working reading material. So I'm going back to mum's old garage and picking out some of the old classics that I like to read. Meditation app. I've also used a meditation app to get to sleep, and herbal tea. I was having normal cups of tea and a bit of caffeine wasn't helping me. Can you see all the micro steps? Swimming, you can see all the little bit nitty gritties. I had to get new goggles. That was an excuse. So all your micro steps are usually barriers that stop you. So you have to write down all your tasks to address the barriers. Backup plan. What happens if it's too hot or too raining? Do I just say I don't swim? My goal was 2 days a week. Backup is Pilates, because I'm stiff, very, very stiff as I get older. So I'm going to ask my physio mate about a Pilates app that she recommends. Then my health checks, I've ticked off one, optometrist, and me time. Non-work reading, gardening, and because I've got my daughter around all the time, which is wonderful, I've always wanted to go back to bushwalking and gardening, so she's going to involve herself with that. So can you see that from such a simple set of goals, those micro tasks are so important, otherwise it's not going to happen. So you might find that after today that you put your name in the middle and start to write down all the different things you need to work on. And like I said, it can be personal issues too. I had more personal issues last year. I've ticked those off. And now it's more getting back on track, getting health back on track. Any questions about that? But mind maps work a treat and you can keep going back to it. And if you find one's not working, maybe the timing's not right. Maybe you need to stop that goal and work on something different. Particularly, let's say you got sick, like Monica was saying, you end up getting a virus, then you might have to write virus on your mind map and go, I need to just work on that. Damage control, I need to work on safety for my blood sugars, hydration, and park all those other goals to the side. You're not ignoring them, you're acknowledging those goals, but don't feel you have to work on all of them at once, because that's when you'll get messy head, if that makes sense. Any comments or questions about that? Who's done a mind map before? Or yeah. Yep. Any comments about what you would see doing, or do you put the micro steps in there as well, Stephen?
I was just answering yes to your question.
Oh. Thumbs up. Siggy. Hey, Siggy.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All good. Yeah, just with the mind map thing, I started using those while I was going through uni, and they were very, very helpful to stop the overwhelm. My suggestion personally is to keep it simple.
Absolutely.
It's good to figure out, write down everything you want to do, but then you pick your top 3 and you prioritize, your top 4 and you prioritize, because my to-do list is like a roll of toilet paper. It is never ending. And
That's right.
it was like, when I first did a mind map, there was just too much to concentrate on. There's only so much me to go around, particularly when a lot of me is dedicated to other people. And yeah, so my mind map this year is the keeping me in the center of that mind map. So a huge part of it is obviously my mum, my family, caring for her, but my main goal is prioritizing some me time, because that is when the wheels fall off, when I don't get time. At least, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's hard to find 10 minutes for myself each day.
Agree.
And you know, yeah, right, it's like, if I can prioritize that. I bought myself a or Santa brought me a lovely bench seat, so I can go and sit out in the garden and do a meditation. And that was my first tick off the mind map this year, is meditation, me time. So yeah,
love it. And I love that example, Siggy, because again, like Stephen, you know, you're working on mindset and meditation, that's going to impact your health in a positive way. So, and you're 100% right. Mind maps only work by prioritizing one thing at a time, or you might find you do two at once. But always have a backup as well. So with the swimming, I said, oh, well, what's going to happen? I thought the other day it was too hot, and I went, oh, well, I just won't go. Well, that's an excuse, isn't it? You said you're going to achieve twice a week. There's no excuse. So what's your backup plan? So always have backup plans. But just, yeah, one thing at a time, one step at a time. Deb.
Yeah, I've like Siggy, I've done mind maps before, and I think for me, because it seems to me a lot of my life is based around numbers. In the management, I try to be specific, really specific with my mind map. And I read just recently a quote that said, what is measured is managed.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, being diligent with my measurements of my blood glucose and and all of that sort of thing. And going beyond that, but looking at the website, the Libre website, and looking at patterns and looking at that sort of thing, being much more intentional with that gives me the ability to manage better.
Yes.
So yeah, that's kind of my mantra this year is, you know, what is measured, you know, can be managed.
I like that. I really like it. And it's really what you're really talking about, tracking and measuring. It's quite specific. And one thing I'll also add to the Connect forum, because some of you haven't been on this webinar, or maybe one of the webinars where I've added this, is the detective tracker. There's a diabetes detective diary. So to get on track, you might write your food, your exercise, your blood sugars, and tracking stress levels or sleep on a 0 to 10 rating score thing to work out what's going on, but also a habit tracker. So to start off with one habit, and the first habit you might work on is meditation or reduce food portions or whatever the case may be. But to get on track, a great way to start is measuring and tracking. So that's brilliant, Deb. And what you track is what you get. Okay, so yeah, also tracking things that you want to achieve rather than what you're trying to avoid. So don't track, do not do a cross on the day you blew not having eating chocolate or whatever. You know, look at chocolate minimization days. There's ways of tricking the brain to make you feel like you're getting somewhere. Yeah. The other thing I was going to say one thing I was going to say, and I haven't mentioned this for a while, but with changing habits as well, we're all talking about getting back into different habits. The European Journal of Social Psychology said that in one study, participants took on average 18 to 254 days to form a new habit. So it's not 21 days. That could be something as simple as putting my cup of tea there to over the other side. That's a very easy thing. It might take 1 or 2 days to get that in my head. But for ingrained habits, stress, saying yes all the time, it's not going to take 21 days. It's going to take a while. So this study shows that between 18 and 254 days, that range is huge. So give yourself a break, cut yourself some slack, and it may take time to form these new habits. The average was 66 days. That's just over 2 months. So we shouldn't expect success straight away. And in my mind map, I haven't succeeded straight away with sleep. I'm still falling off the perch now and then. And so I have to just keep going back and keep persisting. And persistence will get you closer and closer to your goal rather than think, oh, well, I've given up or it's not working. Yep. Philip, I have I'll read this out, multiple comorbidities and need regular shots for pain, which throw my sugars out wildly. Very hard to manage. Thoughts, anyone? Oh, cortisone, absolutely. So definitely cortisone, Philip, will impact blood sugars. I can see Deb shake. I mean, the only thing I can say from a non-medical point of view is we have to just expect sometimes blood sugars are going to go up and aren't kind of in our control, okay? So we just have to expect this medication is going to impact sugars, but what are the things I can control? So what you can control is the other behaviours that involve yourself, like eating habits, movement, if possible, if not, sleep or stress. Because what happens sometimes, I've found in the past, if we see high levels and you feel like you're defeated before you start, then it's easy just to give up everything else. Whereas the mindset to work on, for some people, if they find this difficult, is to think, okay, I expect sugars to go higher because I'm on cortisone, or maybe like Monica was saying, or Deb, because I've got some sort of infection, but I need to focus on the things I can control and understand, that might push things out, and the doctor will know that. Does it impact the HbA1c if you're on cortisone for a while? Well, the doctor will know that, and we just have to put that down as something out of your control. So not to give up and to do the best you can. That's from a non-medical point of view. But any other comments about that? It's a frustrating one, right? Yeah, but do the best you can. Just looking at, I like all these comments and questions. They're great. I'm just having a wee look through here. I see you writing a lot, and what are you writing? Are you writing down your goals? I'm being a sticky beak, aren't I?
You're talking to me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm mind mapping.
I knew you would. Good. I like
I'm
it.
mind mapping in my I bought myself a new diary for this year, which I've got here on my table. It's actually a mindfulness diary, so it's got little
Good.
tips and tricks all throughout it, and every month it's got, you know, what are you looking forward to this month? What are you, you know, all these things. And so in the back, I'm now doing a mind map while I'm listening to
Good, because Ange is a busy
all of
woman.
this.
I mean, the
Yes.
things she has to do at work don't even start outside of work. So I thought you would like that. For me, it
Yes.
works as well.
Yes, it is. I've got a picture now. So yes, thanks everyone for that.
The other thing I was going to say, I've just got a few other tips. Now, if you're working on, let's say you're working on losing weight. I mean, that's one goal that if you're working on that, right? The research says, so we're looking at slow and steady wins the race is one of my little tips. Okay, the tortoise wins. That 5 to 10% of your weight loss, if you lose 5 to 10% of your weight, it can have a significant effect on improving blood pressure, cholesterol, reducing the risk of diabetes, or helping to manage diabetes. So what I'm saying here is small achievements do matter. And you might find if let's say the doctor, no disrespect, but maybe they've said, oh, you've got to go and lose X amount. If we don't chunk it down into small achievable steps, then we're going to think of like a big mountain and you write down here. I used to have a little a mountain in my practice, not a mountain in my practice, a picture of a mountain in my practice, and it was a little person and a big mountain, and they're just looking like this. Like, how am I going to get up there? If you don't build stairs and work on one step at a time, it's not being condescending. Human beings can only work like that. And if you work on ticking off one step at a time, adding up over time, you're more likely to get there. So rather than think I have to lose 50 kilos, it's looking at maybe 5 kilos, or is it a couple of kilos? Or do I always get stressed when I focus on the numbers? Maybe I need to focus on the habits that improve weight loss or blood sugars. So forget the scales all the time, and maybe get out the old habit change diary that I'll add to the forum, where you're working on the behaviors. What are the behaviors that are going to help my weight? What are the behaviors that are going to help my sugars? What are the behaviors that is going to help my stress? Saying no. Yeah. Rather than just saying reduce stress. That makes me stressed. The doctor said that to me. Oh, well, you just have to reduce your stress. Well, that sounds very easy, but and I thought, you know, I've just got to think about all the micro steps. Yep, the micro steps to help achieve that outcome goal. The other thing I'm going to say about the 10% rule as well with changing habits. So human beings aren't good at big changes. So for example, if I'd reduce the temperature in the room, let's say the temperature in the room is about 20 degrees and it goes to behind here. This is Greg, one of our members. His son lives in Austria. And he sent that to me, and I promised that I'd put that as my background. And it took me a while to fiddle around, but I got there in the end. Let's say I reduced the temperature from 20 degrees to -5 degrees. Would you notice that? Absolutely. If I reduce the temperature from 20 degrees to 18 degrees, would you notice it? Not really. So what am I saying? There's a little piece of science which validates small changes do make a difference. But how much is that? A small amount, 2 degrees, is not enough. But more than 10 degrees is far too much. So there's this little thing called the just noticeable difference. And the just noticeable difference is about 10%. The 10% mark is where you'll notice a difference, but not too much to freak the body out, but just enough to notice the difference. So if I change the temperature by about 10%, you'll notice it a little bit, but it won't be too uncomfortable. Let's just relate this back to health behaviors. If you're looking at making 10% changes, increase my exercise by 10%, rather than saying I'm going from 0 times a week to 7 days, unless it's breathing every day. I find it very overwhelming to think that you could do something every day when you haven't done it before. So I've done swimming twice a week, unrealistic to work on 7 days a week. Or reducing food portions. You might think I'll just take 1 tablespoon off my portion rather than cut down entirely and go no carbs, because your body's going to notice it. Going to bed and this is what I've had to do, rather than say, I'm going to go to bed from 11 p.m. to 8 p.m., that's too much of a difference, and that is not going to work. So you might do increments of 30 minutes or even 15 minutes I've done with people. Does that make sense? So when you're looking at habit change, and if it's not working, it's not you that's failed. Maybe you've got the wrong strategy. Maybe you're expecting too much, and the just noticeable difference is a little piece of science which validates that a 10% change is enough. And we can link that back to the weight loss statistic I said, between 5 to 10% weight loss is enough to achieve benefits. So this is not being condescending. This is just about human nature. We're not robots. So if something's not working, you've got to question yourself, well, why is that not working? It's not you that's failed. There's something wrong with the strategy, or maybe you're focusing on the wrong goal. Maybe there's pressure from someone to work on that goal when in actual fact, you need to work on something else. And I like what Siggy said, you've got me in the middle. That's why I've put me in the middle as well. That's the focal point. Comments about that? Can people relate to that? Oops.
Absolutely.
Who said absolutely?
Phil.
Oh, Philip. And I think I just saw another. Hello, Phil. There you are. You've got another little question here. Hang on. What you want to tell me? Oh, yeah. I also have PD and ADHD to play with. My mind mapping and medication management mean focus from distraction and remembering to do things are also fun. Oh, I couldn't imagine. Yes. Keeping it simple and revisiting the to-do and have to do sometimes every day. Otherwise, the depression takes over. Absolutely, Philip. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I really like what you've said there, because that's keeping it real. It really is keeping it real.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I rely a lot on my phone, like on reminders and calendars and all that sort of thing. And until I got sort of really determined about using it for those things, it was incredibly difficult to manage everything, and it was really overwhelming, and I wonder how I ever had time to work. And I've relied a lot on as well on thank goodness for her, but my daughter who lives with us to just even sometimes just remind me to eat. So just having that care person in the house is fantastic. I've got an NDIS application in at the moment where daily support will also be provided. Sorry, I'm just my legs shaking because I need to have my PD med.
So PD being Parkinson's disease, yes?
Yeah, that's not.
Yes.
Yeah, me PD. So I guess I'd just encourage folks to, like you were just saying, like, don't give up, break it back to the things that you can achieve. And sometimes those things are hour by hour, especially if you're feeling a bit down in the dumps with other things that are going on in your world. So that's really encouraging to hear that, I guess. And like to reach out to all the specialists in my life without fear has been very useful too. My endocrinologist is fantastic. And so's my doctor of physiotherapy. And my psychologist too. Yeah, there's a hell of a team in there, but yeah, and this is sort of a bit of an expansion on my comment, but I've found that it can be difficult surrounding yourself with a good team of professionals, but it's worth pushing through that if someone's not working for you as well, like with that relationship stuff and the trust and all the things that go along with it. So just sharing a bit about my life, what it's like to live in my head, and promote the encouragement and surrounding yourself with good people.
Oh, I love that, Philip. And I'm so glad you could get off mute and talk to us. I think you've just highlighted so many beautiful things. And, in particular, like this no give up, like don't give up. And often I've seen this many times, if we feel there's so much to do and we feel we can't cope, another option that we can do, which is very easy, is to what I call go ostrich and stick your head in the sand and say, well, I'm just going to ignore it. But what you've actually done is you've gone, you know what, there are these goals that are difficult, but it's not impossible. That's the sort of attitude I can get. And, it's hard. It's like going shopping when you go to different health professionals, dietitians included, or hairdressers or mechanics or doctors. If one's not working, don't give up, push. I love that attitude. I love the point as well is support. I think it's so important. I needed support last year, and it really is important to surround yourself with those positive people. Parkinson's disease as well, and with the medication that impacts so many things, and my stepfather has it, and what you eat, the protein, there's so much going on. The ADHD, you've worked well to organise or to rely on calendars, and my two nephews have ADHD, so going through the HSC, my sister had to help them understand how to organize themselves. So these perceived barriers have become triumphs. Like, I think it's really, really good what you've said. You've highlighted some really important points. So thank you.
Welcome. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now.
Nah, we like everyone getting on their soapbox. That's why we have these. These sessions are not just me doing a PowerPoint presentation and boring the pants off everyone. It's about everyone getting together and commenting, and you guys are the experts in your own life, and you've got a lot to share. And I've learned so much from patients over the years, not just from university. I learned more out of university than in university, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Siggy. University of life.
Exactly. Siggy.
It's like being an apprentice and graduating to a tradesman. The hardest 4 years of your apprenticeship are the first ones after graduating.
Oh, I hear you. Yes.
Anyways.
Naive. Yes, I remember those days. Siggy.
Now, I was just going to say it's so true. It sort of leads into the mindset and everything as well. But who was it? Phil that was just speaking.
Yeah.
Said it with ADD. The more I learn about ADD or ADHD or whatever it's called these days, the more I realise that I probably have a really good dose of it. But back when I was a kid and I would have been diagnosed, there was no such thing. So I've sort of learnt to use it for my benefit. So I've turned that into, I consider it my superpower. So I get hyper focused on things and stuff like that. So I've actually used that in my career to, help in my life and with my hobbies and all that sort of thing as well. So sometimes I sort of think that when you get handed a diagnosis, it can really sometimes leave you feeling like a bit of a victim, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? This is huge. And I must say, I went through probably when I got my diabetes diagnosis last year, that threw me into a complete tailspin. And I reckon for a good week or two, because it was just overwhelmed with looking after my mum, or I was already having to concentrate so much on foods and reading labels and all that sort of thing. And then there was this whole other layer that I thought, oh my God, now I'm like, how am I going to spread myself? I'm already spread so thin. How am I going to get my head around this? And I did have a real downward spiral for a couple of weeks. And then I just sort of went, no, come on, mindset, pick yourself up. You can do this. It's all about education. And I started just educating, and I threw myself in, like Phil said, get yourself a good team. Basically everything that was offered to me, I took advantage of, like you guys. This has been brilliant. The Connect and all that sort of thing, the diabetes educators in my area, the dietitian, my endocrinologist, I'm not thrilled with, but you only have to see them once every now and then, so whatever. But yeah, and my GP, I was really fortunate. She is brilliant because she's just been through all this with her husband, so she knows the dealio. But yeah, that whole, it's not, you don't have to be a victim of your diagnosis. Just one step at a time, get a good support network, and know that everybody has their own superpower, sort of thing, would be my comment.
I like the superpower. I think that's brilliant. And I mean, these days, the other good thing is, even when I was back at school, you're considered naughty if something was different. And so now, a psychologist is such a brilliant profession to help us work on strategies to manage our mindset. Interesting enough as well, psychologists, you can get mental health care team arrangement plans, you can get subsidized or if not completely bulk build sessions, which is brilliant. And so I think the psychologists have got such an important part to play in helping anyone, whether they've got chronic disease or not. It's a real established profession now, and we've got proper diagnosis where, like I said, you're considered the class clown years ago, or just didn't pay attention, or just pure naughty, or even dealing with our diagnosis, and also post-traumatic stress disorder. All sorts of things psychologists can help us with. So always consider that in mind if you haven't done before, but your GP is the first person to speak to about if you're considering, because there's lots of ways of subsidising, because it can get costly, I understand, with medications and doctor appointments.
It's funny you say about when you're a kid and you're considered naughty. When I did psychology at uni, and one of my major works was my major assignments. I focused on shame in children and instilling shame in children, and the old school was to shame children into behaving, and how our brain just doesn't function under those. It can actually exacerbate the problem and that sort of thing. So I think acceptance as well. I did have a lot of shame around my diagnosis. I was sort of embarrassed by it, and and it was like it took a while to get my head around that. Like, the first few weeks, I suppose I was lucky that I did process it quite so quickly. I know, other people struggle for years with sort of stuff like that. So but there's no point in dwelling on the negative with it. It's not going to help you. It's going to screw up your sugars as well, the more stressed and that you are about it. And we can only do what we can with the tools and information we're given, but we can always educate ourselves and make a step towards the positive. Little tiny steps. Like Absolutely. Deb said, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? I love that saying, Deb.
That's right. It's a good saying. Oh, Deb, you got your hand up there.
Yeah, and I think it's we're our own best advocate, and it's our responsibility to educate ourselves. And I kind of look at it too as when the opportunity arises to educate other people, because I know I have friends who have type 2 diabetes, and they tell me all the time the misconceptions that people have of people who have type 2. Well, you must be this and this, and you must have eaten too much sugar, and you must have done all that sort of stuff. And I think that stigma that they have to live with is is crazy. And so when I get the opportunity, and living with type 1 diabetes, it's a whole other dynamic, but when I get the opportunity to educate people who are willing to listen,
yes.
Then take the opportunity to debunk the misconceptions.
Absolutely. No, spot on. Absolutely. I've just got Philip's just typing, so but only Oh yes, Philip just put so full of potential. If only I would apply myself. This is what he's been told. The curriculum had me thinking I was going to be a terrible student, incapable of having a successful career, and God bless him, my dad saying I would only ever be a ditch digger. Well, yeah, and it's interesting, like Siggy was saying, you know, when we had these ways of I can't even say educating or teaching. It's not educating or teaching, but these sort of the stigma. Yeah, it really says a lot and impacts our beliefs. Definitely. I can't believe it's already 1 o'clock. Well, 1 o'clock Sydney time. Oh, just one more thing. The building blocks for depression, but I used his discouragement to build a successful landscaping business. Digging. That's so, that's hilarious. But that's a great, I love that because it's triumphing over something like that. Now, people have got to, one way or another, we either take that and believe it and become what we've been told, or we just say, sod you, I'll do something different. And that's so well done. That's very hard to do because when you're being told by a parent, I'm not going to get into child psychology, but when you're being told, I mean, that starts forming beliefs, doesn't it? I love that, landscaper. Dad, I dug a hole. I just thought of the castle there.
You can do it.
Monica, one last, Monica, you got your hand up?
Just wanted, Beck, you mentioned earlier there was some information on gut health that you're going to share.
Yes.
Is that? Yeah.
Yes. I've written down gut health. I can't read my right. Oh, habit change diary, a habit tracker, and then the diabetes detector, which is if you don't know what's going on with the sugars, and it's a ways of looking at how what's impacting the sugars. So I'm going to put that on the Diabetes Forum, Connect Forum, for everyone to use.
Sorry, where do I find? Is that just on an email or a forum? Sorry.
No, it's on the our Connect Forum. So would we be able to put a link in there, Ange?
Yeah, so you have, who's it, Monica?
Monica.
Have you ever been into and logged into Diabetes Connect where you can find all of the events and bits and pieces of information in all of our forums and communities? Have you been logged in there as yet?
Is that the email I got the other day about this? And I went in and I found this course. No?
So you would have got the email and it would have, so that was the newsletter, and it would have taken you probably to the Teams link to register. So what I'll do, I'll pop into, now can you, Monica, see the chat or the Q&A at the top there?
Both, I think. Both.
Both? Okay, I'll pop into the chat the link to Diabetes Connect homepage. If
Mine's
you
saying chat isn't available, and
Yeah,
you might have
mine's
to
not
put it in the
available.
Q&A live.
Okay, I'll put it in both. For those that don't have the chat, I'll put it in both. So that's the link to Diabetes Connect.
Yep, got that.
And that's in. So if you haven't logged in before, when you get to the home page, there will be a little section where it says never logged in before, need to change my password, update password. If you click on that link, it will then get you to put your email address in, and it will send a link to create, like most things, like most platforms where you have to create a password, you'll need to put your email address in and it'll send you a link. You click on the link and it'll take you through setting up your password. Once you've set that password up, you'll be logged into Diabetes Connect, which is our online member community. So in there you can post questions. I can share it so you can see what it looks like when you get in there if you like.
That'd be good,
so just keep in mind yours will look a little bit different because this is the admin end of Diabetes Connect. So I'll just share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So this is Diabetes Connect. So you'll see through here. It's very similar to a Facebook or something like that set up. You've got your news feed through the middle. So all of the communities that you belong to. So when you join Diabetes United. If you're an essential member, you'll be in the Diabetes United General Forum. So in there, you can look for discussions, threads, posts. You can reply to people. You can also create your own posts. So if you wanted to create a post, if you have a question for Beck, for myself, or for anybody, our members are very good at coming back to you. You can go up here and go create discussion thread, and it's just like creating a post anywhere, or creating an email. You just put a subject and type your question in, and they'll come up in this middle news feed here. So when Beck posts some information from today's webinar, like all of the bits and pieces that she's going to post, if you look for the topic of today's, which is getting back on track, and it'll be a little photo of Beck here, and you'll have a post and some attachments to it. If you're new to Diabetes Connect, you can also go up the top to resources and benefits, and under that it will have the member events list. So there's actually events in there for Health Hour, for conversations, and for our monthly catch-ups. I think until June we've got now in there. So you can go in there. There's also other things in there. You can watch the recordings of Health Hour in there. You can watch the recordings of the Conversations webinars. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you can look at. You can also, over on the side here, you've got quick links to your upcoming events, so you can view all events from that part as well. But yeah, that's just a quick overview. But if anyone else has any questions about Diabetes Connect, or you'd like more in-depth of how to use it, please let us know, and we can always do a quick webinar on the topic of Diabetes Connect and learning how to use it and where to go and where to find things.
So did you say the gut health is in there somewhere?
Oh, I'm going to post it, darling.
No, Beck hasn't
when we
posted. So
Yeah,
Beck hasn't posted it yet. So Beck will post after this webinar finishes. Beck will create a post, and you'll see it through your news feed here. And it will be the subject. So this is the subject, this top line here. So the subject will be today's webinar topic, getting back on track.
Yep.
And attached to that will be the gut health stuff. You can also search. There might already be some things in Diabetes Connect on gut health. So you can up the top search gut health, and it'll bring up any threads, discussions, posts that have been made in the past. And you can look at those there as well. So also asking questions, like as I said, our members are really great at sharing lived experience, ideas, tips and tricks as well on these kinds of things. So yeah, always feel free to post a question in there. And if Beck, myself, or one of our other members doesn't have the answer, which is very rare, we can find that answer for you from either another health professional or another team member.
Sorry, I'm just going through it. So I go to Diabetes Australia to start with, is that right?
No, you follow that link that I sent in the chat and the Q&A.
Yeah, but as soon as I click off, it'll be gone. So if I click on it now, I can go to it, but I'm in this session. So as soon as I click off this, that link will be gone.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So how do I get into that?
If you just maybe if you copy that link and then open another web browser and pop it into there.
We can even copy it and then email it to you, pop it in an email to you. So
I think I've just popped it in a new browser, I think. I'm not
So
sure.
it's community.diabetesaustralia.com.au.
Yeah. And then from there, is that something you got to pay for, is it?
No, if you're a member and you receive are you an essential member or a plus member, Monica?
I have no idea what I am. I thought I haven't paid anything. So
Yeah, so you must be
Essential.
an essential, and it's one of our essential members. So that's our free level of membership. But all members, regardless whether you're an essential member or a plus member, have access to Diabetes Connect. There's just a few extra things that our paid Plus members have access to, like the back copies of Circle magazine, and that kind of thing. And also our Plus members have their type 1 or type 2 connect. So they're given a yeah.
Hi, Stephen.
So once you're on that home page, all you need to do, as I said, is just follow that link of never logged in before. Click on that little link, and there's a little box where you'd normally put your email address and password. But if you click on that link, put your email address in that's linked to your membership. It will then send you a link to set your password. And once you set that password, you'll be into Diabetes Connect, and then you can look through.
Well, it says if you've forgotten your password, but I don't actually have one because I've never logged in. So
Yeah, it says if you forgot. I think it's I'm not on our homepage now because I'm logged in. I think it's if you've forgotten your password or reset your password. But if you just click on that link, that's the link you will need.
okay, thanks.
No worries. Stop sharing this now. But yeah, if anyone does have any questions on how to access Diabetes Connect, please let us know, and we can always do a quick rundown of it or webinar. It's a very useful tool.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.